Morning, everyone. Welcome to Desktop Central Training. I thank everyone for joining today's webinar in your busy schedule. So let me introduce myself. My name is Abraham Jabaraj, and I have 5 years of IT industry experience. I'm associated with ManageEngine, and I'm taking care of implementation, training, and webinar sessions. So I'll be the presenter for today's webinar. So let's have a quick look at the training schedule for today. As you all know, this is 5 weeks training series. Now we are in the third week of the training schedule. And today's training is about asset management. In case if you guys missed the previous training modules, you can very well download those recorded videos from the below mentioned link, desktopcentral.com training.html. So even all registered participants will be receiving this recorded videos in email. Okay, today's topic is asset management. So here's the agenda of today's training. So we'll first start with the overview, and we'll discuss on the architecture of asset management in detail, and we'll see how it works in the background. And this whole webinar is designed based on problem and solution approach. So I have taken 4 common real-time examples to discuss on the uses and the features of asset management. So first, we'll see how Desktop Central Asset Management is going to help in managing licensing and controlling the bandwidth spikes and preventing the use of unauthorized applications. And also, we'll see how we can generate reports for the purpose of upgrading your Windows 10 missions, to your Windows 10 missions. And also, we will discuss about the options available in asset management to proactively resolve that disk space issues. Followed by that, we'll be discussing on few real-time scenarios that we came across in our support. Right? And followed by that, we'll be discussing on few questions. So during this session, if you guys have any questions, please do raise the questions through the chat. Our expert team available here will be able to answer this question. Okay, let's move on, and let's first discuss about Desktop Central. So what is Desktop Central? So Desktop Central is a unified endpoint management solution. So this helps you in managing desktops, laptops, servers, and smartphones. In the traditional endpoint management solutions, we have some difficulties managing modern IT environment, which involves heterogeneous devices or the devices which travel outside your organization's network. So in this Desktop Central, we offer an umbrella approach as a unified endpoint management to manage all the endpoints centrally and easily. So this UEM edition of Desktop Central includes all DC features like Desktop Central features, patch management, software deployment, asset management, remote control, and all that. And additionally, we provide OS deployment feature, and we also support modern management of Windows 10 along with mobile device management. So if you like to know more about this, you can refer this below link to understand more about the features. Okay, supported operating systems. Desktop Central Asset Management supports all 3 major operating systems: Windows, Macintosh, and Linux. So here you can see the versions of each operating system supported. We do also have a very large customer base who contributes to our community. So with the help of them, we are categorizing the application as commercial automatically. So right now, we have 13,000 and growing applications supported by Desktop Central. So let's have a quick look at the architecture of Desktop Central first. So Desktop Central is an on-premises solution as of now, and this is also a client-server-based application. So having said that, you need to install agents on all the machines that you wish to manage. The machines could be in your local area network where the server is located, or even you can manage the machines in your internet or in your wide area network. So agent can be installed on the machine through different methods. From the console, you can push the agents to the client machines, or you can download and install the agent manually by the script deployment. Or if you're using Active Directory, you can push the agents through GPO as well. So next, you can manage both machines in LAN and WAN as we discussed before. So when it comes to WAN architecture, distribution server plays a very important role. So now, what is distribution server? For example, if you're managing more than 10 machines in remote site, and if you have concerns with bandwidth, you can use this distribution server. So when a patch or a software task is created for the machines which are located in this remote site, then the client machines will not directly go to the main server to download the patches. Instead, the distribution server alone will go ahead and download the patches from the main server, and then the agents will download it from the distribution server. So this feature helps you to manage the bandwidth efficiently. Even roaming users who move from one location to another location can be easily managed by Desktop Central. To achieve this, you can enable NAT, network address translation, and you can expose your server, or you can place your Desktop Central server in DMZ, demilitarized zone, so where you can securely host your or securely expose your Desktop Central in internet. So in case if you do not wish to expose your main Desktop Central server in DMZ directly, then you can utilize the additional component called forwarding server, which is also called as secure gateway, and which is an optional component. So this forwarding server acts as a secure gateway server between the roaming agents and the Desktop Central server. So any communication from the remote office client machines will be only through this forwarding server. So this ensures the secure communication to the server. So here are the components that are available in Desktop Central. So we have already seen server, agent, and the node, right? All that. And the notification server is another important component which plays an important role in any on-demand tasks and in tools like remote control and on-demand scans and all that. So next, failover server. So failover server brings in an additional server which actively monitors the primary server and takes over the operations when the primary server fails. So this feature helps you in eliminating the downtime in your business. Even you can place your Desktop Central server in AWS or Azure. So there are advantages placing your server in cloud. For example, if you're managing more number of roaming users, having the server in cloud will be an added advantage, and this is also going to be a cost-effective solution. If you are a managed service provider, this will be an easiest option for you. So Desktop Central will be on cloud very soon, and we also have planned to introduce our own cloud platform called Zoho Cloud, so you can also host Desktop Central from the Zoho Cloud. So we have plans for that as well. Okay, let's move further. And so here is 90 minutes refresh policy. Desktop Central architecture is scalable to manage even larger networks up to 20,000 machines. So this is possible because of this refresh policy that we use. What is refresh policy? So every Desktop Central agent will be contacting the server at every 90 minutes. So this is called agent refresh cycle. So this feature ensures that all the computers in the network contact the server periodically. And two factors are ensured here. Network is not being choked by agent server communication, meaning the bandwidth is not being disturbed by the agent server communication. And the performance of the server is also not getting affected at any time. So Desktop Central server itself has an intelligence to slice down the number of client machines that should communicate to them per minute. For example, in a network of 90 computers, one computer will reach out to the Desktop Central server every minute. Similarly, if it is going to be 900 computers network, 10 computers will reach the server per minute. And for a large networks like 9,000 machines, 100 computers will reach out to the desktop center server per minute. So using this feature, agents can communicate to the server without any issues or hesitation. Okay? So also, here are the ports used by desktop center. So you may need to open these ports on the server to make use of the features available here. For example, voice and video chat is one of the features associated with our product, works in UDP port, which is 8443. And even agent server communication happens in 8020. And server to agent notification happens in 8027, which is a TCP port. And agent to server communication can happen securely through the HTTPS port, which is 8383 as well. To know more about the ports, you can refer this link, desktopcentral.com ports. Okay, so till now, we discussed about the general architecture of Desktop Central. If you guys have any questions regarding the architecture, please do raise your questions in chat. Our team will answer your questions there. Okay, let's move on to the asset management portion. So first, why do enterprise need asset management? In simple terms, asset management is required to manage all IT assets. For example, to find the number of hardware, softwares installed on my network and the types of it, and also to manage the software licensing, hardware expiry, hardware warranty details, also to trace any unauthorized applications that are being used, and also to trace the usage of an application and to generate different kinds of reports based on my requirement. So these are all the general requirements with respect to asset management. Also, we'll discuss about how asset management in Desktop Central works in the background. Okay, here's the architecture diagram which shows, which explains about the architecture of asset management. So as we discussed before, we need to install agents on all the client machines first. So when you install agent on the client machines, the Desktop Central agent runs two scans automatically. Number one is patch scan and also an asset scan. As we are into asset management, we'll see in detail about asset scan now. So scanning is important for asset management. When a scan is performed for the first time after the agent installation, the agent will collect the complete data of the computer, which includes the details, the hardware, software, and all of the details, USB usage, and all of the details that we collect by the agent, and the data will be posted completely to the server. So this is also called a complete scan or full scan. This is for the first cycle. Moving further, you can also initiate scan from the Desktop Central server, which is called on-demand scan. So I'll show you how you can initiate an on-demand scan. And when you initiate an on-demand scan from the server, the client machines will initiate a scan on the machines and post the data to the server back again. But this time, it will not post the complete data again. It will only post the changes that were made from the last successful scan. So here, the agent itself will compare the data and post the differential data alone to the Desktop Central server. So this kind of subsequent scans are called differential scan, since it partially posts the data. And the agent has an intelligence to compare these details automatically. So this mainly will reduce the bandwidth being used by Desktop Central agents for posting the data. Okay, right. And one more option. Even you don't have to initiate a scan on demand all the time. You have an option to schedule a scan on a regular basis. So periodically, the scan will be carried forward. Okay, so now we have seen how things work in the background. So let me show you this live in the console. So here's the console of Desktop Central. As you see here, in the scan systems view, I can see all the computers that I'm managing. So the machines which are in green are the machines which are live now, and I will see all the machines over here. So like I said before, whenever the agent is installed, very first time, the scan will be automatically initiated and the data will be posted here. So if you click on it, you will see all the data, when the scan was completed recently and all that. In case, as discussed on the architecture diagram. If you wanted to initiate a scan manually as an on-demand task, you can select the missions or all the missions and initiate a scan from here. So this will initiate an on-demand scan and post the status back to the server. So this is called on-demand scan. And also we discussed about the schedule scan. So instead of doing this scan every day, I can go to the schedule scan option in the bottom left, and I can enable the schedule here. Okay. All right. So here is the option where you can schedule the scan. So you can set the conditions when the scan has to be initiated. You can set the time. You can set the on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or a daily basis. And you can also configure an email address so that you will get an email alert whenever the scan gets completed. So this is all about scan. So even file scan is also available with us. So we are not only capturing the asset data, we are also capturing the file details using this file schedule scan. So you need to enable the file schedule scan to capture the file details. So after the scan, if you click on a computer view, you will see all the details that we capture. Okay, right. We'll discuss about that in the next slides. Okay, so now we have seen how asset scan works in the background and also in the practical way. Okay, so next, what kind of data is collected during the scan? Okay, like I said before, we will collect all the details from the computer. So if I click on this computer, so I can go to the inventory and click on a computer view. I'll select any computer to show you what are all the details that we collect. So as you see here, this is a summary page where we will see all the basic information of the computer. And in this system view, we will collect all the system related information, users, groups, drivers, shares, services, and all that. So all this information will be available for you. So even files. So since I have enabled the file scan, you can enable this option and you can see what kind of files are being used on these missions here. So you can also export a report out of it. Even security details will be captured, antivirus details, firewall details, BitLocker encryption details, and all that. And USB usage will also be captured using this. So these are all the details that we collect during this scan. Okay. Even the user logon details will be captured, like we see here. Here's where you will see all the details of it. Okay. So that's it about the data that we collect during this scan. Okay. Right. So far we discussed about the general section in asset management. We'll discuss about the scan and what data have been collected. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your questions in chat. Okay, so let's move further. Okay, so here is the real-time scenario that I explained before. So we'll discuss on the features and the uses of asset management from now. And for a better understanding, I have taken 4 real-time examples to discuss on them. The first real-time example here is managing Office 365 license. Okay. First, for better understanding, let me consider myself as an administrator. Okay, let me consider myself as an administrator. And so now I wanted to allocate license for an application like Office 365 application. How do I do that? Okay, I'll switch back to the console. So in this inventory section, here on the left-hand side, you have an option called Manage License. Here, you can click on the license, Add License, and you can add the license. Option 1, if the application is already installed on my network, during the inventory scan, we will automatically scan and find the applications installed. So if it is already there and if you wanted to add the license for the application which is already installed, you can select that application from this existing list. Okay, I can select any application from this and I can add the license count like this. And of course, I can add other additional details based on my requirement. So this is how I can manually add the license. In case if I'm not installing any applications before, if I wanted to install the application only after I allocate the or configure the license here, I can manually even type in the name of the application and enter the details. So both the options are supported. Okay, this is the manual way of adding the license. In case if I wanted to import a bulk data for multiple applications, you can go for importing this option via CSV. So we do have a sample CSV format. So you can prepare a file with a standard CSV format with all the mandatory fields, and you can import the data. So this will save time for you to import the data in bulk. Okay, so this is done. So I have imported the details about Office 365 license here. Okay, so now you can see this compliance status. Okay, so what we do is once the license details are added, we will compare the license details that we added, like so 24 is the count that I added, and I'll compare that with the actual installations on my network, and I'll tell you how many is the remaining license. So based on the remaining count, we will determine whether you're over licensed or under licensed or equally licensed. So here in this slide, we will discuss about that. So first, if the number of licenses purchased by you is greater than the number of installations, so it is considered as over licensed. So if the number of licenses purchased is very less compared to the number of installations, then it is called under license. So it is could be an alerting situation. So you need to purchase more licenses. So in case if the number of licenses purchased is equal with the number of installation, it will be considered as in compliance. Okay. So this is how you can manage the licenses. Okay, so we also have other features in managing licenses. So discuss about that. Let me take a scenario here. Okay, I'm an administrator now, so I have installed Office 365 in a certain number of missions over here. Like let's say that 19 missions. Okay, so in case if I'm getting a request to allocate some more applications to a new joinees, so a new employees are joining to my company, and they belong to a finance team, and they also need Office applications installed on their system. I need to allocate license to them as well. I need to install application and I need to allocate license to them. How do I go about it? Okay, so in this situation, first I need to check the total number of licenses that I have currently and the occupied license. Okay, so in this scenario, I do have licenses available for me to allocate. So I can go ahead and install this on new missions and I can allocate the license. In case if the number of licenses occupied is equal to 24, in that case, I'll only have two options. Either I need to procure more license and I can add it. For example, if I wanted to add more license, I'll click on add more license and I will add another set of 5 and I will click on save. So once I click on save, now the number of computers will increase by 29. So now I can allocate that to rest of the new missions. So this is how I can go for adding the additional license. In case if I don't have an option to add additional license, I can go for the next option where I will have to revoke some license from the users who are not effectively using this application, and I need to allocate to a different users. So Desktop Central has an option to do so. So how do I monitor who's using the application effectively? Yeah, Desktop Central has an option here, which is called software metering. So here, first, you need to add a rule to identify the usage of an application. It's very simple. Again, you will click on the application, you will add a license count. You will be selecting the application from the list, like this here, and you will be defining a rule to monitor the specific executable name word.exe. Okay, and I will change the changes. In case if I want to add additional details for my reference, I can add the additional details. Right. Once I add the rule, on the next subsequent refresh, agents on the machines will identify the rule and will start monitoring the usage of the specific application based on the rule. Okay, so open and the close of that specific executable is called as one usage, and the agent will generate a report every day, and send it to the server by end of every day. So that is how the software meeting summary report will be generated. So once the rule is generated, you can generate a report. Different kinds of reports are available for this. So using those reports, you'll be able to easily identify who are using this application. First is the software meeting summary. So you can go to the report section, click on inventory, and click on this software meeting rules by summary. So this will tell you what are all the rules that you have created and tell you and how many discovered counts are available based on this file. Okay, this is an overall summary detail. In case if I wanted to go in detail to view the computer-wise details, I can go for this. I can even go for the filters options, and I can filter it based on the branch office or to the domain, or I can also use the custom groups and all that. I can set the date range. I can generate a report. So this will tell you who's using the application effectively and who is not. For example, take this user is not using the application effectively. He has used it for only 2 times. Okay, so now I can approach this user and I can revoke the license. I can uninstall the application from this user and I can allocate that to the rest of the new users. So this is how I can effectively monitor the usage of the application. So even in this software meeting summary report, you have user-based license, which will tell you how many users are available there on the machine, and it will tell you whether the specific users on the computers are using it. This is just a user-based report. Okay, right. So you can select a report here and generate a report. So this is how we can set the condition. Okay, so I can give any previous dates to generate a report out. Okay, so I believe there is no data capture on the user. So in case if you wanted to monitor this after adding the rule, you can enable this and you can get this report from here. So this is how I can manage this licensing portion. Okay, right. If you guys have any questions regarding this scenario, you can discuss with us on the chat. Okay, so now let's move on to the next real-time example, which is controlling bandwidth spikes and unauthorized applications. So let us assume myself as an administrator again. In my last admin meeting, there were 2 important concerns raised by my network security team. So first, a considerable amount of bandwidth being consumed by my desktops in my network, and also some unauthorized applications are being used or being detected by my security team. As an administrator, it's my responsibility to address the situation. So first, I need to understand the reason behind this bandwidth spike, all that. So we have an easier approach for this. First, in the report section, we have an option to find out all the list of applications installed on my network. So here in the software report, I can easily check the softwares installed and all that, software with manufacturer and all that. So I can see whether there is any unauthorized applications are being used here and all that. Okay. So in case if I know what is the applications, right, which is causing this bandwidth spike. For example, let's consider it as an uTorrent, right, which is torrent application. So then it is easier for me to filter that based on this. So for example, in this inventory reports, we have a specific report called computers with and without specific software. So using this, you can filter it by a domain or based on the remote office. and you can set the logic. For example, if I wanted to look for a torrent application, I can look for that. So I'm using a condition as equal now. So if the name is not exactly as I mentioned, it will not pull the data. So I can change the condition as like, and now I can see the number of computers using this application. So this is 153 users in my network are using it. Okay, this is already an alarming situation to me. So how do I handle this situation? Okay, so now we have an approach to automatically uninstall this prohibited applications. So these kind of applications are called restricted applications or prohibited applications. So in the inventory section, if you go to the software list, since you already know what is the application which is causing this bandwidth spike, so you can look for the application from here, like torrent application from here, and you can mark this application as a prohibited application. So once you mark this as a prohibited application, the application will be listing under this here, as you see here, and it will tell you how many users are using that application here itself. If you click on this count, it will tell you the individual user names, right? The computer names. Okay. So now I need to take necessary action. First, I need to warn this user to uninstall them on their own, or I know my plan is to give them a grace period, and I'm going to ask them to uninstall them on their own. If they're not doing it, I'm going to automatically uninstall this application after some days. So how do I go about it? So first thing is that you need to add a rule for uninstallation. So you will first enable this option under auto uninstallation policy. You set this condition, and you'll be enabling this message on the end users. Okay, so this is the first step, and you can also give a count. Like, so if the user is using multiple unauthorized applications, you can limit the count, like how many applications has to be uninstalled. Okay, right. So before we go for this auto uninstallation policy, let's discuss about the prerequisites for automatically uninstalling. First, you need to configure an uninstallation command to uninstall this application, because the agent on that mission will automatically uninstall the application during the reboot. Okay, when the users are booting the mission, it will uninstall the application using the silent installation commands. So you need to specify the silent installation commands. So silent installation command is mandatory for an exe based application. For example, for the uTorrent, this is an exe based. So I have specified the installation command as this is a pre-filled installation command, uninstallation command, and I can provide the silent switch here. If it is going to be an MSI based application, you don't have to enter any uninstallation command or silent switches, because the stop signal agent will automatically take care of it. Okay. In case if I wanted to exclude certain administrators to use this application, if you wanted to grant permissions for them, you can just add them in this exclusion list through a custom group or a computer. Okay, custom group is also an important option. So normally in Active Directory, you will be having a lot of groups for the users, computers, and all that. So here in Desktop Central Console, we have our own local groups, which is called custom groups. So here in this admin tab, you have the custom group option. You can select what type of custom group that you wanted to create. So you have different types of custom group. It could be also be an user-based custom group or a computer-based custom group. And you can give a name, a valid name, and you can add the computers based on my requirement. So if I already have a custom group listed, I can add the exclusion based on the custom group. If I have a custom group for the department, I can add the exclusion list here like this. So users or the computers under this custom group will not be affected by this policy that you're going to apply. Okay, so this is the use of exclusion. Do I need to configure exclusion for each applications individually? Not required. You have an option called configure global exclusion here. So if you go and add an exclusion list here, this exclusion will be applicable for all the list of applications that is being marked as prohibited already. So that is the use of this prohibited software. Okay. Now we have configured this uninstallation silent switch, and next I'm going for the auto uninstallation policy, and I will configure the message to show on the end user's computer, and I will configure this. Okay, so once I add the rule here, the agent will understand this rule on the next refresh, and it will show a pop-up message on the end users every time when they log in. Okay, so here's the workflow of a prohibited software. Okay, first I have configured the application as a prohibited software, and I have added rules for that. Okay, then the agent notifies the user is using that specific application, and it will show that on the console as we see before. And in the end user view, end user will also see this pop-up message whenever they log into their computer. So this will tell what are the applications prohibited available by the administrator. And here it will show the message, the warning message that you have configured. And this also gives the user to send a request to you from this console. Instead of sending an email, he can quickly compose a request here and send the request. Okay, so now coming back to the workflow, I have configured automatically uninstallation policy, and I am giving the users a permission of 3 days, right, based on this policy to automatically uninstall them on their own, like, manually uninstall them on their own. If they are not doing it, I will do it automatically based on this automatic uninstallation policy after 3 days. So that is the next workflow. In case if user sends any request from this view that I just told you before, the requests will be populating over here. So you can approve or deny this request which is sent by this user, and you can easily monitor the audit history. And you can also add the user to the exclusion list if you need. Okay, so this is how I can easily monitor and prevent the usage of any unauthorized applications in my network. Okay, so this whole scenario will work for the application which is detected as installed in my network in the software view. There are other scenarios, where you will be having few portable applications which will not be installed in any of the, uh, you know, inside the operating system. So there'll not be registry values, and there'll not be any values in the WMI and all that. So usually desktop cell agent will collect the data from registry values, WMI, and through other features, so the USB details and all that. So in case if that is not getting registered, how do I block the usage of unauthorized applications? For example, like a portable application. So we have this option called block executable. So in this option, you can add a rule to block the application that I wanted to block. For example, keylogger and FTP. So this is a few, two sample portable applications that I have taken. So this is also going to be a threat because this will be, file transfer applications and all that. So I wanted to prevent this as well. So I can easily upload a file, a sample file that I download from the website, and so we will automatically calculate the hash values of that file, right? Even you can simply go for the first method by just blocking it by the name of that executable. In case if user wisely change the name, you still be able to use that. So you can go for the hash value. So if the user is changing the name, we will still block it based on the hash values. So agent on that missions will take care of this blocking. So whenever user clicks on that specific exe, it will say the administrator has blocked that. Okay, so that is all about the second real-time scenario. Okay, right. If you have any questions, you can post the questions there on the chat. And so now let's move on to the third real-time scenario. Okay, so my organization has decided to upgrade the machines, Windows machines, to Windows 10 now, upgrade the operating system. And they have requested me to generate a report on the eligible missions now. As an administrator, I need to provide them the list of eligible computers so that they can go ahead and procure the required license. And if any new hardware required, they can procure new hardware and all that. So how do I generate the required reports and to capture this particular situation? Okay, let me go to the console again. So first, I know what are the criteria that has been set. So to filter the applicable missions, I first need to decide what are all the criteria that I have. So normally, I wanted to check the missions where the hard disk space is more than 100 GB, and also I need to check the RAM on the machines or 4 GB and above, and of course the warranty of the computer and all that. So these are all the certain conditions that I need to validate before I proceed this upgrade. So to check all this, okay, I can easily create a report out of it. Okay, so in this reports, so here in this inventory reports, you will have all different kinds of reports available. So for example, computer by OS. So in this case, I will see what are all the current operating system on each machines. And I can see the Windows 7 machines or Windows 8 machines, which are applicable for that. Okay. And I can go for the next report to filter the missions based on the warranty. So we do have other reports to filter the missions based on age or even based on the warranty and all that. Okay. But these kind of reports are all going to be a separate reports. I'll be generating 2 or 3 reports separately to view that. Okay. Then I need to manually compare that. So which is also going to be a tedious job for me. So the next approach for this kind of situation is that custom report. So we provide an option called custom report in which you can customize your own report based on the logics that you need. For example, in this report, I know what are all the filters that I need to apply. So I have created all the filters based on my requirement and all that, the warranty details, the RAM, and the hard disk. I can set the required columns that I need, and I can export the report. So this will provide me the eligible missions of it. Okay. I also have another requirement here. So now that I have the list of applicable missions to which I can apply the upgrade process. But I wanted to do this upgrade department-wise. I cannot just do the upgrade to all the computers at the same time. I wanted to go by department, one by one. So now I wanted a report to understand what are all the computers applicable in each department. A department-wise report is needed. So how do I go about it? So for that scenario, I can go for the Active Directory reports. So to generate this Active Directory reports, first you need to enable a schedule sync with your Active Directory domain, right? And you will be selecting the domain. If you have multiple domains, you can select all domain or specific domains and you can schedule it. So during this schedule time, the synchronization will automatically happen and Desktop Central will fetch the details from AD and post it in the database. So now in this Active Directory reports, you can go to the computer report and you can go to computer account by OU. So this report will tell me the OU, right, which is a department in my case, and I'll be able to see what are the computers to it. But again, in this scenario, I'll be having 2 reports. So one is OU-based report, another is the eligible computers report. I wanted to combine these 2 reports into one. Okay, but here we cannot do that by the custom report. So in this scenario, I can go for the next available option, which is a query report. Using this, you can join 2 different tables from the database and you can generate any kind of report. For example, I will write a query based on my database. If I'm using Postgres or MS SQL, based on my database, I can write a query and I can export a report out of it. So this report will have all the department, all the details that I need, the department, the RAM, space, and all that. So now I can just provide this to my desktop support team who can carry forward the upgradation of operating system. So this is how I can utilize the options on reports. Okay. In case in future, if you need any assistance on the query, you can simply submit a request to us through our support channels. We can help you with the query that you need. Okay. Right. So this is all about the third scenario. Okay. Great. And so here comes the last real-time example, which is proactively resolving hard disk space issues. Okay, this is one common scenario or issue that you might be facing on all organizations. How do I proactively resolve these kind of hard disk space issues using the asset management tool here? Yeah, we do have different options here. So the first option available here is the report again. So you have an option called scheduled report. So I can enable a report, a scheduled report, to tell me the computer's disk usage on a daily basis. So here in this inventory reports, I can go for a computer by disk usage report. I can add the filter. If I wanted to filter only on a specific condition, like less than, right? So less than these many certain criteria, I can apply this filter, and automatically the report will be sent to my email, right? I can define the recipient email here, and based on the time frame. So it could be a weekly report or a monthly report and all that. So now I can easily check the report, and I will be able to identify if there is any computers, which is where the machines which is running out of space quickly. This is one approach. Okay. In case if I don't want to do this, I can do a real-time monitoring on this as well. So in this inventory section, you have an alert section, email alert section. So in this section, you have this disk alert option. Okay, you can enable this and you can set the logic, right, the threshold when you want to receive this alert through email. So if you set the condition as 10% in the partition, so based on this condition, if the threshold is reached, then the email alert will be sent to your email. So this is for the overall free space. So this is also an additional advantage for you. And in case if I wanted to create alerts for other features as well, like for example, software installation or software uninstallation or prohibited software installation. Okay. So remember in the prohibited software module, we discussed about how we can automatically uninstall the private application. So in case after uninstallation, if the user is installing the application once again, you can generate a report which shows you about the computer name and the user who is installing that application once again. So this is also feasible for you. Even hardware-based alerts can be configured based on my requirement. Okay, so this is also an option. And also we discussed about the file scan. Okay, in this file scan, you have this option to customize what kind of files that I want to. So for example, usually audio files or video files are restricted in my environment and in my company's environment. So I wanted to find out who is using this kind of files, which will occupy more space. So then I can add a rule to monitor such files, video files or MP3 files, and then I can generate a report. It could be a scheduled report or a manual report. In the inventory report, you can go for a file-based report to see the usage of that files in each computer. So you can see the memory occupied by that files as well. Okay, so this is how you can easily approach it. So in case if you find large, lot of unwanted files, temporary data that you need to clear up, so you have different options available in Desktop Central as well. In the configuration section, so you have this option called alerts. So using this alerts, you can alert the end user. So the end users will receive this as a pop-up message when this threshold is reached. And you can do the purging of the temporary files automatically when the threshold is reached. So this is also an option. Even in the tools section, you have an option to do the cleanup task. You can schedule a cleanup task by doing this cleanup activity. So by this, you can delete all temporary files to free up some space as well. So these are all the options available to proactively overcome the hard disk related issues, hard disk space related issues. Okay. So now we have come to the end of the real-time examples. So hope this was useful. So if you have any questions on this part, you can raise your questions on the chat. Okay. So now we'll move on and discuss about other few useful scenarios and solutions that we came across in our support experience. First, I want to add additional information about my computers to the asset data. Is it possible? Yes, of course. When we discussed about the inventory scan, we discussed about what are all the data that we collect during the inventory scan. So, of course, all common data and almost all inventory related data will be captured over here. So, if you click on a computer, you will know about what are all the data that we collect. Okay. So in each tab, you will understand what are all the data that we collect. Now you can also add additional columns that you need. Okay, but what if I wanted to add my own data, right? So the data which is not being collected to it. So how do I input the data which is not being collected? So there is two options available here for this. So in this computer view, you have an option called edit here. So if you click on the edit option, it will provide you an option to add few columns, few values to the few columns that Desktop Central agent will not fetch by default. For example, the shipping date and the owner, the service, the search tag, owner's email address. So you can update it over here. So if you wanted to update this in a bulk, you can go for a bulk update option. You can select the missions and you can go for a bulk update, or you can also import the data by CSV. So the sample CSV is available here for you. Okay, right. There is also another option in case, apart from this options that we provide, if I wanted to add a new column itself, right? I wanted to add a new field where I wanted to add my custom data. In that case, I can go for an option called this, add custom field here. So if you click on this, it will tell you the options. It will provide you an option to add the field name. Okay. For example, here I have added the device location name, right? And so for this details, I can enter the details manually, or even for this case, if I wanted to import the data on bulk, I can go for scope of management. From here, in this computer view, you will still see the computer details. If you click on this import, you'll have these options to import the data for the custom fields that you have imported. So by this way, you can add any new data that you need to add. Because that's the answer for this. Okay, the next. We have an IT policy of decommissioning the systems every 5 years. How do I get the list of those computers? Okay, of course, for the decommissioning, you will be decommissioning you'll be selecting the missions based on the warranty expiration. So as we see before, in the inventory report section, you have the warranty reports. So where you can see the missions which will, the warranty will expire soon, or the missions where the warranty expired already, right? Or the missions where the warranty details were not captured and all that. So these kind of informations are available. So even in the inventory scan, we will automatically, with the help of that search, the serial number and all that, we will automatically fetch the warranty details from the vendor website. So if you click on it, you have this option. So you can also manually do a scan to fetch the warranty details, or we will automatically run a scan to identify this. So this is also an option for you. Okay, right. So scenario 3, shared directories with write access is a security threat. Can we identify them? Yes, of course, you can identify them through the reports. Again, in the report section, inventory, you have this option, share details. Okay, so this will tell you the shares created on each computer and the permissions for the shares. Okay, so by this way, you can prevent that. If you wanted to change this, you can also change it through the configurations, through scripting or any other options in the configurations. Okay, and scenario number 4, Dropbox is installed at the user level and would like to get the list of computers that have it installed. How do I identify it? course, this is also another important scenario. So there are applications which will be installed on the user profiles like Dropbox, all that. So for that, we have a specific account, I mean, specific report, which will tell you the user specific install application. So here is the summary view, which will tell you the applications which is installed on it. And if you go to the detailed view, it will tell you the username on each computer, right? So even in the same computer, in a single computer, if multiple users are logged in, you can see the user-wise report over here. Okay, that's an advantage of this user-specific software report. Okay, right. And scenario number 5, I want to identify the computers with local administrator account. Is this possible? Yes, of course, this is absolutely possible again through the report. So in this report, you have this option called system group users. So this will give you the list of users and to tell you whether the user is part of an administrator group or other group members inside that. Okay, so this will be an useful report in this particular scenario. Okay. Okay. So now we'll move on to the next section where we'll discuss about few common questions. And first, do we need to install both Asset Explorer agent and Desktop Central agent in all systems? We are having Service Desk Plus with System Tool plugin, of course. So Service Desk is an ticketing tool from ManageEngine, so which also supports asset management. So in case if you are using both applications, you don't have to install both the agents. You can just install Desktop Central agent alone, and that will take care of the process of posting the asset data to that. But you need to ensure that the integration is enabled. Only through the integration, the data that we collect through the Desktop Central agent will be posted to the Asset Explorer or Service Desk Plus. Okay, right. Question number 2. When you add a program to the prohibited software list, does it take all the versions of the software into account, or do I need to update the prohibited software list every time? Okay. Yeah, this is also an important scenario. We discussed about the prohibited software category, so where you will be adding the application that you wanted to prohibit and automatically uninstall. Okay, so I am just adding a rule for this version. So what if the end user is using a different version of uTorrent? So that will not be added into it. So how do I proactively add all new versions that are being installed in my network to this prohibited list? So for that, first you will go to this option called Manage License. Here you have this option Group Software. So from here, you can create any groups. For example, if I want to create a group for Adobe, I'll give a name as Adobe, a general name, and I will add all the versions from the list. In case, if I suspect there are other few versions which user might install, I can enable this option. I'll enable this wildcard character here. So if there is any new related versions installed again, so those will be automatically added into this group. And when you add a rule for the prohibited software, you can just search for that specific group and you can add it. All right. Okay. It's not populating here, so probably you can do it from here. So since I have created the group will automatically be available here. Okay, it's populating the data still. Okay, it's taking some time to process. But anyway, I'll show you the one which is already added. For example, okay, there is no groups added here. So okay, for example, this is a group, right? So I will be adding this to the prohibited list category, and I will add a rule for that specific group. So that will prohibit all the list of versions inside that specific group. So that is how you can do that. Okay, so question 3, in the inventory report of a computer without specific software, with or without specific software, how to specify filters, criteria, and schedule them. Okay, of course, so this option is feasible as well. So here in this schedule reports, you can go to the inventory section, computers with or without specific software. And so here you can set the filter for searching for a specific software. So you can set the condition as equal, and you can give the name for it. So by this way, you can set the condition for the schedule report. So when the report gets generated, so this filter will automatically be applied and it will be sent to the recipient that you configure. So that is how you can set the criteria. Okay. Does Desktop Central detect what software is installed on each machine? If it is, and if it is licensed, does it have an ability to detect the product key for each software license? Yes, of course. So first of all, Desktop Central will detect licenses for few applications here in the inventory list. First, we also detect details of the computer. Okay, whether the license or whether the computer is activated or not. So if we click on the computer, you can see the license activation status as licensed or not. So this is one thing. And regarding the applications, so you have an option here in this inventory section, software product keys. So through this report, you will be able to see the product keys and all that. So you can export this, right? And how can we identify the security status of the machines in my network? Okay, this is also an important section. So here in the inventory section, you have computers again. For each computers, we will tell you what are the security features enabled. So for example, firewall, BitLocker for Mac machines, we will direct the all security related details over here. So in this case, if you go to the security tab, it will show you the BitLocker status, antivirus status, firewall, and missing patches list. In case if you wanted to generate any report, you can go to the inventory and you can get any security related report out of this. Okay, so these are all an option for you. Okay, in case of any issues with the driver in a machine, how can I identify the same? Okay, this is another interesting scenario. Okay, so we also detect the driver details for the computers. So if you go to the system view, go to the drivers, it will detect the details. But I should have enabled the driver settings under the scan settings. So if I have enabled the scan settings, driver scan for the inventory scan, the driver details will be captured and the driver status will be populated on the computer view. So this is also a new feature that we just added. Okay, so now we have come to the end of today's training session. Hope you all enjoyed the training and hope this was informative. So please do rate us on a scale of 1 to 5, whereas 5 being the best. And if you like the training, you can also share your word in the social medias using this hashtags. And so this is the next training schedule and for the next week, which is on remote control. So you can join this session as well. And so in case if you are interested in any personalized demo, right, we do also free personalized demo for the users interested in the Desktop Central. If you're interested, you can submit the request using this link in the website, or you can let our team know in the chat, so they will be able to assist you in scheduling a demo for you. And I'd like to also inform that we are having a world tour, an EMS world tour on different parts of the world. So in case if you wanted to gain more knowledge through seminars and workshop on Desktop Central, you can register for that and you can benefit out of it. Okay, right. And so thank you all once again for your time and patience today. and have a very nice day. Bye.